Okay, all right, guys. So we're gonna get started. We're recording. This is Open House Hero. So I'm gonna just go through great strategies to win at open houses. We're gonna talk about our strategy and how. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll send you guys, we can send you some notes after this recording, just to so you guys have some notes to follow up, but I would take good notes also. Okay. All right, so basically we're gonna cover some myths about open houses. Some people say buyers who come to open houses are not ready to buy, when we're in reality, most everyone who comes to the open house will transact. Some are now buyers and others will be your future business and nurture lead. Okay. Everyone just looks at houses online, so open houses are a waste of time. That's another myth. Okay. According to NAR, between 21 and 22, 41% of buyers reported using open houses as a source of information, and 28% of buyers reported using open houses frequently to occasionally for information from their home search. These are facts from NAR, National Association of Realtors. Now, I will also say that I've sold multiple of listings at open houses, okay? And it used to be where we used to advertise, or we used to tell our listings that anybody who does an open house, it's just to obtain the buyers, and that houses don't sell at open houses. Well, COVID changed that completely, okay? Because when we got into COVID, everything was an open house. It was a frenzy. It was a coming soon campaign, and people couldn't get the houses soon enough, right? So getting them into an open house would, and giving everyone a fair shot at the house and kind of grand opening was the way to go. And then the sellers could collect the best offers at the end of the day and make sure that they weren't shortchanging themselves just by accepting the first offer that came in. And so with that being said, we had open houses became this huge thing again. Well, it's kind of like, technology, right? When something hits the market and it does well and people like it, it's basically used a lot more. It becomes part of the system, right? So open houses, while we're not getting 50 and 60 people because our market has changed some, right, in an open houses are very effective. I'll give you an example. On Michigan, the one in Twin Lakes, right? We had, we hosted an open house. We only had 3 people show up to the open house.
I had none.
Okay. And the day that Mary Lou did it, she had 0. But the second day, which was a Sunday that I did it, I had one guy come up from Atlanta. And his thing was that he was a very picky buyer, and he didn't want to make his agent come until he knew for sure that he liked it, right? This is one example. And he was the buyer of the house. He closed the house. His agent never saw the house. Okay. And until final walkthrough, basically, because she didn't show up to the inspection either. I can't believe it. But anyway, my point is that because we held the house open, we were able to sell that house. Okay. Now on our team as an agent, we are also offering compensation bonuses if the agent just doesn't come. We're taking away from that buyer's agent, and you guys are able to, for being there and showing it, you're able to, even if they're working with an agent, if their agent is the one that puts in the offer, you're still able to get rewarded for your time spent just showing the house that day. Okay. Natalia just got a bonus from that, and from hosting the open house where the agent didn't come and didn't pre-register the client. Now, if they pre-register, we let them send the client, and that's just a courtesy. We will be there anyway. So we let them send the client, we walk around the client, whatever, but they pre-registered. If the agent doesn't pre-register, in my opinion, they're not what we call procuring calls. The cause was the advertising and the soliciting that goes around the open house. So therefore, they are, they're entitled, we'll still give them some commission and all that kind of stuff for putting the deal together, but we also deduct their commission because we have showed them the house and we're the procuring cause of that offer. Now, that's pretty much a myth that that open houses do not sell houses. Okay. Buyers who come to an open house already have an agent. That's another myth. Some of them do, and some of them say they do, but they really don't. Okay? A lot of people remember when people are walking into an open house, in my opinion, you're getting more quality over quantity a lot because these people have already liked the house online most of the time. A lot of them, just from our research, because we know we're asking them how they heard about the open house. A lot of them are coming from online advertisement, and then a lot of them come from signs. Now, what I generally tend to find is the people who come in off the signs are usually in more of a beginning phase. The people who come in offline tend to be usually a little further along in the process because they're searching the online websites, right? But a sign can generate someone in when they're first starting looking. So a lot of times, this people who come in with signs, they have no agent. They don't pretend to have an agent either, which is a reason why we need lots and lots of signs that we're going to cover today. Okay. The main reason to have an open house is to sell that listing. That is totally the reason we have open houses. But in addition, it's also not the only reason. We host open houses, obviously, as a lead generating tool. Just like the Home Buyers Workshop, just like the different events that we have, grand openings and open houses are events. And we need to think of them that way. And we do. So that's why we advertise out in our newsletters, to our database. We let everyone know that we're hosting an open house. It's an event. We invite the neighbors and we do all the things that we're going to talk about today. Okay. Some people tend to think that open houses only attract curiosity seekers and neighbors. Okay. I tend to find that when a neighbor comes to an open house, it's usually, sometimes they're just looking, but usually within the next little bit, they have an idea that they may want to be selling their house. Okay. And they're really wanting to get a feel for what's going on in the market. Okay. So, or we use it as pick your neighbor. Okay. So, first time home buyers who are trying to figure out what they're looking for, they don't know where to start. Those are other people who really, tend to come to open houses often. Okay. And also other agents want to see if the home meets their client's criteria. I think it's a good way for other agents to be able to preview. And neighbors who become future listings, right? So a lot of times neighbors will also come to open houses. Now, don't think of them as that we love neighbors to come to open houses. That's why we want to invite them. A lot of times they're the ones that either A, want to pick the buyer, or B, want to sell their house in the near future. Okay. Every now and again, they just want to see the floor plan, but it's building a relationship, and that's always a good thing to do. Okay. The other thing is open houses only work on the weekend. That's a myth. Okay. You can host an open house in an evening from 5 to 7 p.m. Now, remember, when you're in open houses, and we're going to touch on this later, effective open houses, if you're super busy, you will not have additional time to do your lead generation on the phone or make phone calls. When your open house is a little slower, you should be on the phone, making phone calls and taking that time to be on the phone. So it's actually dedicated time that you can have for that. Okay. We just wanting to know, that lead generations are hosting on the weekends is not the only time to host them. We can also do 5 to 7 on the evenings. If we have a new build or a luxury listing, sometimes that's vacant. Sometimes it's nice to just, instead of working from the office that day, why don't you just go put an open house sign out and sit in a listing and hold it open? Okay. Those are good strategies that it's like basically like having an office. If you put out enough signs and you advertise that online, which we can advertise it on Zillow, Realtor.com, all the websites, you might as well put out the signs, put out the balloons, and go sit there and work. There's no reason why you want it, right? You have to connect to a hotspot to be able to make the calls.
Why do you
The
gotta
key
connect
is,
to a hotspot?
what'd you say, Jim?
Why do you gotta connect to a hotspot to make phone calls?
Oh, no, I meant on your, like, if you want to get on the computer and do
Oh,
that,
right, yeah,
okay?
okay,
You want to connect to your hotspot, you obviously won't be inside it. Not all vacant
yeah,
homes have internet,
right,
right?
yep.
Okay. Um, all right, so let's talk about picking the right house. Okay, what does that mean? So if it's one of our listings on our team, every house is the right house because we have the opportunity to sell that listing. Okay, but if you don't have a listing, you can also host an open house, another open house. That's an option. So any homes that are new to market would be a good strategy if that agent's not holding an open house and they allow you to host it for them. Anything that's low inventory in that neighborhood, if there's not a lot of homes for sale in that neighborhood, that may be a good strategy. Also, usually mid price points are better opportunities at open houses. Although I will say, like, and in the luxury world, normally normal agents don't host luxury open houses, right? We do. And we hosted a grand open house with the family living there, even with their permission. And we did a little bit of pre-qualifying. We did it a little bit different. And I think we had 11 people come to that open house. And it was a fantastic way, was the most showings we had gotten. And obviously we sold that house. Now, we didn't end up selling that house from that open house, but all the advertising that went around it caused the buyers to drive by, to take a look, and it's the marketing. Remember, whenever you're hosting an event, even an open house, the idea is about the marketing that goes around the event and the reason it gives you reason to call people. It gives you reason to put out messages on groups and do all the things that we do. It gives you a reason to door knock. It gives you a reason to meet people. Okay. So open houses, when done right, are a fantastic tool and way to lead generate. All right. The best times is 5 to 7 during the week. If it's Monday through Friday, you want to do 5 to 7. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't do one on an open house or a lunch time, right? Or it doesn't mean you can't sit in the house during the week because think of this, if open houses like that didn't work, would builders hire realtors to sit in their office
No,
and sit there
no,
Monday through Friday?
It's an
So it
open house all day. It's an all day open
right,
house.
it's an all-day open house all the time. They sit there, they wait for people to come in. Now, in addition, they're putting out marketing online and they're doing things to drive people to that. They have signs out drawing people to their neighborhood. Meanwhile, they're there, so if you want to come, it's a convenient time and they get them to come at all times. They can come anytime it's open to the public, okay? Now, that's been a very successful for builders. Same thing for us, you guys, and just using that same strategy, okay? Saturdays and Sundays, we were doing 1 to 4. I do think that if we could go from 11 to 1 and 2 to 4, that may be a good strategy when we have multiple open houses that we want to run in one weekend. So if we want to run, let's say we have 4 listings that we want to run open, we may have one agent do 2 open houses in one day, which just then in return will be able to bring, you more opportunity in different areas. Okay. The other thing is if we have 2 open houses going on, similar locations to each other, and you have 2 different agents doing them at the same time, it would be a benefit for you guys to send the buyers to the other person's open house as well, right? So consider doing that. Now, creating marketing material around the open house, okay? We create flyers for the open house. We have certain flyers that go out for door knocking, and it's 30 flyers minimum that should be handed out around every open house to the neighbors, especially when it's a grand opening. Okay. And it's something like pick your neighbor or, and if they've had any interest in selling, to definitely come check us out at the open house. Okay. On that flyer, we put photos of the home, key details about the home, and a call to action. Okay. There's always going to be a call to action, like pick your neighbor, We can also do it around a price reduction. It doesn't just have to be the grand open house. If we decide to do a price reduction on a property, we definitely should knock around that. Okay? And talk and hand out flyers around that. Good calls to actions are things like ask me about the price reduction list. Another thing is get the value of my current, do you want to get the value of my current home? On the door knocking flyers, we can give them a QR code to say, like, if you want to know the value of your home here, and then it would have them register. Okay. Now, registration sheets on open houses. When they do come, there's two things that we do with this. Okay. There's 2 times they register, and there's a reason behind this. The initial registration, which we've kind of converted to a QR code, but we always want to have a backup system because sometimes they don't have service inside of a house and they can't register. So you want to still have your paper one with you, okay? Because if it doesn't work, you have to have them register before they walk by. Just blame the seller. You know, we have to know who's coming in and out of the house. You know, if you don't mind, just please register here. They'll write down a phone number and an email. What I do, and this is a tip to the trade, I always, even if it's a blank open house sheet, I always fill in the first line because people do what other people do. So if you fill in Sally Smith, 706-123-5678, you know what I mean? Like a real number looking thing, but it's not. And then fill in smith@hotmail.com. Now, the next person that comes in and sees that list, they're going to see the buyer before them or the person before them. Plus, it looks like you've had some activity on that house. You understand? So one thing is that we always do at open houses is we always fill in that top line at least of a registration. And then we ask the clients behind us to please register. Now, if it's a QR code registration, there's nothing to fill out, right? Now, understand when they register through that landing page, that's going to give them an electronic brochure of the house on the landing page. Give them the information around the house, more details, okay? Instead of handing out the old-time brochure. Now, we used to hand out brochures, but they would leave with it, and we never had anything in return, right? Now we're collecting their information, and it's making it easy for them to register on the phone. Now, when that happens and when they register, what you don't understand is that there's a smart plan that's attached to that landing page that Annie in our office is basically making sure that they're on the landing page and they're getting emails and different things to follow up with them and stay top of mind. Because these people, some of them aren't ready right now, but it puts them on a drip campaign when they register through that landing page.
Maybe I have a question.
Yes.
Is that landing page the one of another planner, or is like another website special for that open house to get
It's
their
the landing
information?
page to that listing. So it doesn't matter if
Okay.
they're in Florida, in Georgia, wherever that listing is, it's
Okay,
gonna give them information about that listing.
okay, okay.
Okay, and it's through command basically is how we have it set up.
That
So
was my
that
question.
it's a
Okay.
it's a
It's
landing
command.
page through command that
And-
gives them the MLS type details, like the information like an agent has.
And my other question would be like, it goes to the Syndrome Property Group command, and who would do the follow-up? Only Annie, or can I get access? Will
No,
it
it's
be
in a-
like
it's-
under my profile?
Yeah,
Because I
it's assigned.
hosted the open house.
It's assigned to the agent who's the host of
Okay,
the
got
open
it.
house.
Mhm. Okay.
And
okay.
then it sends them out those emails. So my
Got it.
point to that is
Mhm.
those emails do not stop you from following up with your
Of course,
clients.
yes.
Those
that's what-
emails are
yeah.
in addition because I know you, not you personally. I know you as a realtor because I'm one. We get busy. And so we want to make sure that we're not being in contact with these people. So your job is still, and we're going to go over that. We're not there yet. Your job is still to do the follow-up and everything. It's just understanding that registration, let's stay focused on that one piece. So, because we'll get to everything else, but understanding that first piece of registration is super duper important. And what it does is it syncs them to a smart plan. Okay. And then, but that's not the only follow-up you do. That's just a piece of it. Okay. But that's what we're doing behind the scenes is we're making sure when you send Annie that list of registration, if it's not a QR registration, when you send her all the feedback and all that stuff, we're going in to make sure that everything registered right and that the smart plan got put in place. That agent that was hosting the open house is assigned to it, and all of that is done correctly. Okay? So that's the process that goes on behind the scenes. Okay? And what I would do as the agent is I would ask them if it's okay to stay connected with them when they're registering. Okay? Because if you ask permission, say, hey, listen, I'd love to stay in contact with you. Is it okay if we stay connected? Now they're actually, as they're giving you permission to go ahead and stay connected with them. It's always going to be better that way.
They could say, send them more open houses. as
Yeah,
package.
we'll send you more the open house list, okay? Now the scorecard, and we're gonna get into different strategies in just a minute. We're just at the tip of the iceberg with open houses. So stay with me because my brain could go in 500 directions with different things at different times, but I pretty much think we have it all covered in a good order. So when the client is leaving and they've already seen the open house, the final thing you do with them, now, granted, you've never left them by themselves in this house. I don't care if the house is vacant. Your whole purpose of showing the home is to meet them. Your whole purpose of showing the home is to interact with them, but allow them to enjoy the home and don't be annoying with them. Like, give them some time, talk to them, but really just kind of ask them questions like, how does this living room work for you? Like, they know that's the kitchen. Saying, there's the kitchen, there's the bathroom. That's like common sense. Those are not things we say in the conversation. It's more along the lines of, how does this work for you with this house? Or check out this feature of the house that they might not just see with the open eye. And getting to learn them better is a good strategy within the open house. Okay. So within the scorecard, that's the last opportunity because they've already seen the house to really get their feedback and then understand what they're looking for a little bit more. Do you understand? So
Yes.
that scorecard is going to tell you if they think the size is great and everything is great and the kitchen is great and all these things, it's giving you instant feedback before they walk out the door. Because you can glance at that. And then it asks a question and it says, would you buy this house at any price? And if they say yes, that is a fantastic opportunity to have a discussion about what the next steps are. Okay? But what you're telling them is that this feedback card is good information and it really helps the seller. And that you appreciate them giving feedback to the seller. And that's the one thing the seller is asked for hosting, us hosting this open house is to give them as much feedback as we possibly can.
Now,
So
maybe a question.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm supposed not to ask questions.
it's okay. Go ahead. This one time. We'll give it to you.
Just
Go
one
ahead.
time. If they're with the realtors, I just let them go with the realtor. If they're
Yes.
if their agent
Correct.
is there.
You get the business card of the realtor,
Mhm.
or you ask the realtor if they've made an appointment through showing time. If they don't have that, you make the agent register on the registration because we need to have or write down their phone number because we need to know who's been in the house for the seller for all kinds of reasons.
Okay.
And then that way we can follow up. Okay. So yes, and if they're with a licensed realtor, it is not a problem to let them walk through with their realtor, just like they would go through showing time to make an appointment. Totally fine. When I say you don't let anybody walk through the house without you, that's because they're unassisted by a realtor. Okay.
Or just get the business card, right?
Yeah. The business card is perfectly fine. Or if they've registered through showing time already, perfectly fine. But if not, you just get them to register, write down their contact information so that we can make sure that we can follow up with them later and then let them have at it. And then I always let them know, I'm here to answer any questions you may have if your client has any interest in the property. Okay. All right. So, and they're rating the curb appeal on that scorecard, and they're giving you contact information again. Now, this helps us compare the contact information on the landing page or that they originally signed in. Now, if they've had interest and they started to build a relationship with you throughout the process, because you might get a fake phone number in the beginning, but you might get a real one by the end because they like you. You understand? So that's
Yep.
why it's so important. Plus, you want to give us the feedback for the seller. It's imperative so that we can be in contact and connection with our sellers. Let them know what people are saying about the house and what they're doing. Okay? All right. So all marketing material on listings need to be completed and out by Wednesday. All of the Thursday is the day that we should be doing like door knocking or whatever. Thursdays are the best days for that. Okay. But as far as like having the stuff prepared, the landing page is made, the professional photos, we try to complete all that by the end of the day on Wednesday, so that, and that's what we do in-house, so that Thursday, all of this stuff can be starting to go out and live. We on our team try to do pictures if we can Mondays or Tuesdays to be able to get that back. And then we plug what we call plug and play all of the stuff for the listings. Okay. And for the open houses. So you guys have all seen samples of what our open house flyers look like and what our scorecards look like. Marketing the open house. So we like to send out invites to people in the database. We send them out to social media. We put them in different groups around the house. Every listing we take, if it's our listing, we do a strategy session and go, who do we think would be an end buyer for this house? Is it going to be a first-time home buyer? Is it going to be a business person? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? And based on that is where we target market the listings and the advertising. If they have an additional garage, then we try to go into car groups and different car, things. If they're close to the beach or the lake or the ocean or the whatever, we try to target market boaters and things like that. Okay. But it doesn't mean that's all we market to. We just touch on that market. Okay. We still do the other stuff. But if there's a target market for a specific listing, we're targeting it there. Okay. Door knocking. Door knocking the nearest minimum of 20 neighbors. We try to say hand out a minimum of 30 flyers when you're door knocking around an open house. 50 would be better. It depends on the size of the neighborhood. Okay. And sometimes you can go out to the neighborhood across the street too, if it's a smaller neighborhood. So don't be against that. Let them know we have a home coming on the market in a neighborhood across the street from you. Okay. Now, when you're door knocking, the conversation goes a little bit like this. Hey, this is Natalia with Keller Williams Realty's Cintron Property Group. I'm holding an open house or a grand opening at 123 Main Street on Sunday from 1 to 4. I wanted to invite all the neighbors to come take a peek. Will you be around to stop by? And if they say, well, yeah, sure. Awesome. I hope to meet you there. Would love to give you guys get some feedback from you. And do you have anyone that you know that you'd want to pick your neighbor? That might want to move into your neighborhood. And if they say no, say, oh, that's okay. There's still time. If you want to make a phone call and see if you have any neighbors or just pop by to take a look at it. You can kind of joke with them. You still got time. See if you want to pick your neighbor, if you know of any friends. Always ask for that referral. Do you know anybody looking to buy in your neighborhood? Do you know anybody looking to sell in your neighborhood? Ask those questions. If they say yes, don't be shy to ask for the opportunity. Okay. If they say yes, get details. Ask for how motivated they are to move. Would you mind sharing their phone number? They may not feel comfortable doing that, or they need to ask for permission. But that doesn't mean, don't assume that they wouldn't want to give it to you. Ask for it. And if they give it to you, great. If they don't, okay. But ask for it. I promise you, you won't get 100% of the things you don't ask for, right? 100% of the time, you never get what you don't ask for. You only can get it if you ask for it. So you need to ask. Also, you can offer to drop them off a CMA, comparative market analysis of how much their home is worth. Okay. if they would like to know how much, because we're selling homes in the neighborhood, and what happens a lot of times around this is, around this listing, what happens a lot of times is, people want to know what their home's worth. So if you wanted me to drop you off a CMA, I would be happy to, and to give you a little bit more specifics. You could ask them to see the house right then, ask them come by and let me know how your house compares to this one. Would love to set up that opportunity. Okay, so those are all opportunities that can come out of that. Social media posts. Okay, we post on social media, and I've kind of touched on this a lot, but we do designs, a lot of different designs that we're advertising out the open house. Those are good things for you to share on your page. Things like it just shows you active in the business so that your sphere of influence and the people that you are around always know that you're in the business and you're working. It keeps you top of mind. Okay. I've invited people that I know that in my sphere, even though I know they're not looking for a house at the moment, I invite them to come see me during my open house. Okay. I'll give you an example. Isabel, which is the painter in my BNI group, her mom lives close by to where I sold the house in Twin Lakes. So during that open house, I picked up the phone and I said, hey, would you come by and see me? I want you to give me some feedback. I want to see your opinion on this house so I can give some feedback to the seller. Well, it was actually really good because she was able to give good feedback. I was able to see her, make that connection. I got to meet her kids. It was a good opportunity because I had always been in business atmosphere with her to get to meet her husband and her kids and stuff like that. So remember, if you're doing an open house and there's people that might live there, they don't have to be in the market to buy. Sometimes it's a good opportunity just to have them stop by and say hello to you. Okay. We're trying to find ways to connect with our sphere, and get closer to them in any way we can. Right. So don't forget to use that. Also, sometimes we host open houses. We like to have lenders there. If we think this is going to be a good way, a good open house, we feel like we're going to get a lot of activity. It's a really good idea to partner in your lender on that. They can get their pre-approval done right there. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. But if it's an expensive open house, like a luxury open house, they will sometimes provide the food. And sometimes we do open houses, especially in the luxury world, where we host open houses that has food. Okay. And you can have lenders and vendors and partners partner with you to supply that. Okay. So if we come across the listing that mandates that or works with that, that's one strategy that we use, to help offset the cost of it. All right. Let's see. Do you guys need a minute or are you guys okay? Anybody have to take a break? You good? Okay.
Good.
All right. All right, then let's talk about the day of. So this is all everything we've talked about thus far is leading up to the day. So now we're going to go into the day of the open house. Okay. Let me go back. Rewind. Okay. Leading up to the open house, the day that you door knock, I told you should be what day?
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. With a Thursday open house, that day is when you put out your signs, your directionals. Okay. And you're telling people that are driving by that area that there's going to be an open house. Okay. And it's okay. Put a balloon, whatever. If you want a balloon, I wouldn't put all your balloons out on Thursday. The balloons they're definitely going to be deflated by the weekend. However, you can put your signs out a little earlier. The neighbors see the signs. More people have more time to see the signs. We want the signs out there at least 2 days in advance, if and when possible. Okay. So putting out the signs the day before. Now, what's recommended by most open house, there's people who only do open houses and that's how they get all their business. Okay. And millionaire real estate agents that do this, and they do it at a super high level. Now, having said that, they put out 30 to 40 signs per open house. Every open house, they do 30 to 40 signs, and they put balloons on every single sign. So they put it on every turn. They put it on every turn that they do. Okay. And they put it on, out on the major intersections and then leading them to the open houses. Now, it's for you to get more volume at your open house. That's the better way to go about it, right? Is to get the information out sooner. Okay. Now the day of the open house, you want to go find all your signs and put balloons on, but you don't have to re-put the sign on because the sign's already there, right? And then, you want to put, let me see, I already covered that. Okay, and the minimum you would want to put a sign up would be the morning of the open house. So let's just say it was 1 and you couldn't get door knocking done for some reason. That morning, going earlier and putting the signs out would better behoove you versus just the hour before the open house. Okay, worst case scenario. I always arrive a minimum of 30 to 40 minutes early for the open house, minimum. That allows me time to put the sign out, get the self ready. I go around the house. I make sure every light is on, even to the point of the microwave, underneath the microwave, making sure that's on. If there's under counter lights, that's on. I bring cleaning products if I need to clean up. I make sure all the toilet seat lids are down. I make sure that all the light bulbs are not working and not burned out. I make sure that the sliding glass doors or the French doors aren't like sticky, that they actually work. Okay. And it gives me time to make the house present in its best possible way. If there's any smells in the house, it gives me a minute to air the house out. Okay. But I'm there. I put my signs out from the minute and the balloons first. Okay. Because it's giving attention. Put the sign out in the front. Always put a balloon or something on your front sign. Okay. In front of the house. I also put a couple of directionals in front of the house as well, in addition to just the yard sign, because the neighbors are used to seeing the yard sign. But if you have additional directionals, that helps point things out. Okay. So I always arrive early. The first thing I do when I get there after the balloons is I do a video. And I say, hey, I'm here at my open house at 123 Main Street. Come check me out today. This is where I am. And then I give them a quick tour of the house. The house is X amount, blah, 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 blah. Come see me. It's just a video. It doesn't matter the video. You just need to get it out there because that's you telling your sphere, and tag Cintron Property Group so that all of our people see that. Okay? Because that needs to be done before the open house starts. So if you're getting to the open house at 12 and the open house starts at 1 as an example, you need to do it at 12 and invite them to come. You're going to be here from 1 to 4 and here's the address. And post to your stories, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever you do, and put it out there. Okay? You also want to have a sign writer on the sign that says open house. And we also have sign writers that say the times. Now, we're in the process, just so you know, Mary Lou's actually looking because we want to kind of change. Now that the market's changing from the COVID world, like we may decide to do a little bit shorter increments and double up on different listings because we're going to have more supply. Inventory was a problem before. Inventory is rising. As we collect more inventory, they're going to take longer to sell. Days on market's going to be longer. We're going to have more open houses to host in a day. So shorter time frames and doing 2 in a day may be a better solution. So because of that, we're working on getting writers that where we can kind of either adjust the times or have different options for you guys to grab your writers. Okay. And then once the house is ready, I make sure I'm freshened up. I feel good. I give myself about 10 minutes of just like, take a deep breath. I'm all done. So that when the first client walks in, we're ready for showtime, right? We're ready to be present, be there with the client, make sure we're not sweaty and all a mess from putting out our signs and doing all the things, and just give ourselves a second and just focus and like kind of meditate almost to be the best us that we can be for when the client walks in. Now it's showtime. Okay. And it's hosting. So most everyone that walks into a house, you're going to ask them, what brings you by today? Right? Hey there, how are you? Welcome to 123 Main Street. What brings you by today? How'd you hear about us? You stop and listen. They're going to say, I'm just looking. Oh, we're just looking. It's kind of like the same thing with the online phone call, right? And we typically find that people come to open houses that either look for a home, or value for their home. Do you live nearby here? And so you ask that open-ended question and find out from them. And that kind of just opens the conversation up. After you've talked to them for a second, okay, great. Well, would you mind registering here? We promised the seller that before we let anyone walk through the home, we would have them register. And you've already kind of broken the ice a little bit. All right. So, then after the open house, you're going to have them do the feedback sheet. You're going to talk to them. If they're ready for the next step, you need to tell them. It's kind of like we talked in the beginning series, right? About always tell them what's next. If they give you any indication that they are interested in that house, the next step is what? I can give you the comps, blah, blah, blah. The other thing that I think that every agent should go to an open house prepared, you need to know what else inventory is in the market in the area. You need to have your list of other homes. Now, my recommendation is if you could sell that home right now today and they like that one and want to buy that one, do not bring them and confuse them on other homes. But if that home is not a fit because of XYZ, if you know the inventory, you can now guide them to what's next that same day and tell them that you're happy to show them that home at 4:30 when you're done with this open house. And pick them up right there. Fantastic. And then you can have them basically sign a one-time showing agreement. Because they haven't met you yet. You don't necessarily need an exclusive, right? But you can get them to sign that one time. That's them committing to the appointment for later. So that means when you go to your open house, you want to have a couple of those ready to go. Right? Let them know they're not committing to using you at this point. It's just just for that house that you show them. Okay. The other thing is if you have your laptop there, you can pull them out and you can go through the inventory on your computer and show them right there. Now that our open houses aren't going to have 52 people at them every time, we can probably have a little bit more time with each individual person that comes by. Having said that, taking advantage of those times and using it almost for a strategy session would not be a bad idea. But if you can't, or if they're in a rush, or if you have a busy open house, always try to do what's next, set up the next step. The next step would be for us to meet at the office or meet blah, 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 and go over what your particular needs are since this house doesn't match. I don't mind, really. Would love to set up the time for us to get together. All right. Now, if you weren't able to set up the next appointment at that open house, or sell that open house at that open house, your next thing is the follow-up call on Monday, and it has to be Monday. Okay. So following up on Monday, we were having Annie call and follow-ups on Monday as well. We're not. We're having her not call on Monday because we want you calling. But you need to follow up because you have the reputation with them. Try to sell them the house, try to get them the deal. If not, we will be also following up with them on Wednesday if we haven't heard from you that they're buying the house or what their exact feedback is on that house. Okay, verbally, or that you're setting them up as a client or whatever. We will be following up with them. Okay. Also know that once they registered, they're going on the drip campaign. Okay. And like a smart plan. Okay. Let me also just go over this real quick. So
I sent that to them all already.
yeah, you guys have hosted an open house for success. The team will design a social post and print the invitation and do the home book. The home book's the marketing book that we do. That's got the seller's disclosure in it, the community association disclosure. All of that information will be in there at the home book. We'll prepare a QR code for the open house, the sign-in sheets, and the materials needed. Okay. We'll advertise it on the MLS, Zillow, Homes.com, Realtor.com. We advertise it on all those websites, starting on Wednesday to Thursday morning at the latest. Okay. We post every day on social media leading up to the open house from the Thursday. Okay. And for a grand open house, we run paid campaigns. We pay for money to back it. Okay. And it goes out to more people, anybody within a 20-mile radius of the house. We're also looking at algorithms. We can look at algorithms on our websites and different things like that to see what areas are looking at the house. At least 2 days prior, the open house sign writers need to be placed. And the open house directionals with a minimum of 10. I put minimum of 10. Remember, a lot of MREAs and people who are building their business off of open houses, they put out even more than that, 20 to 30. Okay. Agents should record a video in front of the house. All team members should share that post. So even if it's not your open house, let's say Tony does a social media post in front of the house, Natalia, Jim, everyone will share it. Why would Jim in Florida want to share our Georgia open houses? Because he can get a referral. People from Florida are looking to move to Georgia all the time, and people from Georgia are looking to move to Florida all the time. They're very interchangeable states, so we can definitely get in referrals. Hey, I didn't know that your team was in Florida too. I didn't know that your team was in Georgia too. Yeah, absolutely. And then they can refer. Okay. Door knock and hand out a minimum of 30, 50 preferred. Open house invitations. Bring a friend, pick your new neighbor. The dialogue we just kind of went over. And then the day of the open house, all signs are up. Balloons are put out. Signage on the balloons in front of the house. Record the video. Turn on the lights. Open the blinds. Toilet seat lids down. Set up the frame. Marketing book. Make sure it's there. The frame is the QR code. And then feedback sheets on clipboards with pens. My 3 books, the divorce book, the Sell for Top Dollar, and the Home Buyer's Guide are great books to have there as a giveaway. You give them away if they are interested, you know, just talk about your team and all that kind of stuff. We also have those giveaways, you guys remember, and I don't know if you guys are using them or not, but you should be. The lottery tickets. It says we are the winning ticket when it comes to getting your house sold. We are the winning ticket for all of your real estate needs. We have both of those. Okay. And those are great handaways. In addition to your business card, you can give them that. And it's a nice little gesture. Something different than what other people are doing. Okay. Or any handouts. If you guys wanted to print some extra handouts of the other open houses in the area. I personally wouldn't give them other open houses. You can tell them that you're happy to tell them about other open houses and send them by email. And see if they're open to that. But I would send them other listings and tell them that you can give them a private tour of those at a better time. Right? But just give them a hook. You got to give them something to get back in touch with them. Okay. Do you guys need a quick break? We probably have about, a little bit more. I was just going to go over a little bit more dialogue. And go over that. We can finish up and wrap up quick if we don't take a quick break. Yeah. Go ahead, Tony. Oh, you don't have anything? Okay. Thought you were raising your hand. All right. So you guys are on board. We're all thumbs up to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Medium, you need a break, Natalia?
Actually, I was writing in the chat, my body's killing me, my back.
Yes.
So
Yeah, go feel better. It'll be recorded. I'll send you.
yes, I'm gonna look at the video, at the recording.
Okay, feel better.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Natalia.
Poor Natalia woke up sick. Okay. All right. So, also, you guys, you can circle prospect around a follow-up. You know what I mean? Like if the VIP buyers program, okay? So remember, if you have that to offer at the open house, that not only if they're not finding something they like, remember that conversation that you can have around, you know, we also have opportunities around homes that are off market in our VIP buyer club, and stuff like that. So as conversations are had, and just remember your value and what you have to offer around there. How do you know if the open house was a success? What determines it to be a success? Can anybody unmute and tell me?
Yeah, if you get clients from it, or if you sell it.
Get clients from it, or if you sell it, or if you
Yeah.
have anybody that you can lead follow up with, right? What if, you know, you don't necessarily get a client to walk in, but because of all the advertising that you did around it, you later get business.
Yeah, that's. a
I've had it
success,
to
sure.
where, yeah, I've had it to where I've literally door knocked a neighborhood. And later I've had a neighbor call me and say, like months later, and say, I saved your flyer because I've never had anybody come to knock on my door before. And we want to sell our house and we want someone as ambitious as you to help us.
That's right.
And we know you've worked in the neighborhood before. So you may not see it at the moment. Remember, real estate's a delayed gratification. I mail out postcards, I mail out just the notes all the time. I have a lot of people that tell me, we held on to your card and I've held on to it because you mailed this to me, could be months ago, and they are calling me. Okay. So sometimes we don't always reap rewards right at the moment. So it doesn't mean that it was a failure. In my opinion, if you've gotten out and you've lead generated consistently, your business will overflow because you're consistently doing the activities. Some people are more of a face-to-face people, don't love to get on the phone and make the calls, right? So maybe door knocking is fantastic for you. Because people, if they could just see your face, they end up liking you. Even if you only get a few people at the open house, if you've gotten to talk to and have conversations with or leave behind marketing material, that is a success with an open house. You're getting the word out, right? So ideally, we want to sell the listing or pick up the buyer right there and they're committing and signing a BBA. That's amazing, right? But it's not always, there's still small successes and small wins within those things. Okay. Plus, if it's your listing, you know, you can show the seller that you're working for them to get their house sold, not just putting it on the market and hoping it sells. Right? And that's the goal. So, it also gives you reason to circle prospect. Does anybody, you guys, circle prospecting is where you call around. So maybe door knocking, let's say the winter, it's snowing, the degrees, it's terrible. You can call the neighborhood. We have the phone numbers to everyone in the neighborhood. If you can't knock. Okay, but it gives you a reason to call. You could circle prospect around that. So remember, if that's something that you want to do, or if it's too hot outside, or if it's raining, instead of going out and door knocking, let's phone call. Let's circle prospect the neighborhood and still try to get people there. All right. So, that pretty much concludes for the most part, having a super successful open house. We call it, you know, that's like our playbook, what I would say around the open house. So to reiterate, it's picking the right open house, marketing new ones on the market, pre-marketing the open house, hosting the open house, completing post open house marketing, like the follow-up. Your follow-up is super important from the open houses. Fortune is in the follow-up. Stay in contact, stay in contact, stay in contact. At the level that they want to stay in contact. So that's where you have to find out their goal when you're in their face, because you want to match their intensity. It's very hard to coach them and help them if you don't know their goal. You can also, when you're hosting an open house, I would also recommend if there's any for sale by owners in the area, that's a great opportunity for you to door knock them. And also expireds. If there's listings that have expired and you're going to go host an open house that weekend, you may have extra buyers. Would they be open-minded to allowing you to bring a buyer through and pay a commission? Okay. Any questions, any comments, anything else?
Yeah. So, everything was great. My only thing is, so you're saying on Thursday to put out open sign houses, open house signs?
The directionals, yeah, and yeah, we like a directional to put
What
it
do you
out.
mean a
We can,
directional?
The
The arrows,
directionals.
right? You mean the
The
arrows?
arrows. Yeah.
So what,
In
you
Florida,
put in front of the house or like
Yeah.
leading people from a main road to the house?
yeah,
What?
the issue in Florida, Jim, is code compliance. They pick
Yeah,
up the
I mean, my
signs
sign-
constantly.
My signs would get stolen, absolutely.
Right,
My signs
So-
get taken at my open house sometimes.
right. I know. It's different. So we're Georgia, Florida on here right now. That's what we do in Georgia. In
Okay,
Florida,
all right.
it is a little bit harder because code compliance is like crazy.
Especially
they-
Coral Springs.
In Coral Springs especially, and they do pick up the signs. And they, you lose them and it's money out the door every time. But we can discuss or try to think of other ways or what we can do with that.
And then,
You know.
okay, and then here's another thing about
Yeah.
that, right? So if I put out signs on Thursday, I got people going to the house. They're assuming that the open house is right then and there.
Do we want to put
See
the
them-
rider on saying?
They
when
go-
So
it
let
is?
me discuss that. The rider, you're gonna leave
Okay.
the open house sign directionals on right then. You're
Right,
not gonna put a time on those directionals. At the house, your rider will say open house Saturday 1 to 4. So
got it.
when the arrows point them to the
Okay.
house, because you want them to drive by and see the house, when the arrows point them to the
Yeah, makes
house,
sense.
the rider says when.
1 to 4.
Gotcha.
That makes
Okay.
sense because I was putting up my signs on Sunday and I took a whole bunch of 1 to 4 signs and I was like, how am I supposed to hang this rider on the directionals? But I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. That way, if they are really looking, they'll drive by and be like, oh, it's Sunday 1 to 4.
Yeah,
Right.
Because the
Right.
rider always fits on top of
Your
the
face.
regular yard sign.
right.
Yeah.
I put 10 signs up for my showing.
Yeah.
And after I got all 10 up, it was such a vast area. I could easily see putting up another 10. Like that area, like I put 4 up just in that massive Kroger, Ace Hardware,
Right.
like that whole area. Like I had 4, and then I put 1 up at the street intersection just down, and then I put 2 up at the turn. Then I put 2 up leading up to the house, and it was just like I could have put up more than 10.
Right.
So easy.
Right.
And then what I
Right.
did that day is I just took the balloon tank and
Mhm.
blew up balloons as I put the sign up. Instead of trying to have them in my
Yeah.
car.
What I do,
Okay.
and this is just preference, what I do is I blow them up right before I'm ready to walk out my house. I put them up, I tie them, and then I bring them all tied up, and then I just have to pull one out of the out of the car at a time, already blown up. Because sometimes you're going to be in high traffic areas where you're not pulled over in the safest spot to put your signs up. So I
Fair.
like to have some of them ready ahead of time. But definitely not a bad idea to have a helium tank in your car. So that if you decide to put up more signs than you expected, also going ahead of time lets you know how many signs you could, you can put up. So that way, if you wanted to put a few more up the morning of, you would know to bring them.
Got it.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to add? Mom, did you want to add something?
Is everybody sharing our Instagram and Facebook posts?
Yeah, when I see them. Well, I
Tony?
don't go on Instagram, so on Facebook sometimes when I go on there, I share them when I see them.